defensive line, the injuries have just made this maybe not the year you were expecting. Is there a plus side to getting so many other guys on the field that maybe wouldn't have seen time this year?
Sure, it's exactly like you're saying. There's a silver lining to everything that you're basically going through. I mean, it's tough to have to play with so many bodies and lose good players because you want all those guys on the field, but you gain a little bit more experience, and that's the thing that I think we're getting this year. Is just got a lot of freshmen that are playing, and they come back and they'll have a lot more experience come next year.
The coach has talked repeatedly about just eye discipline and assignment discipline and run fits and all the basic stuff of playing D-line. Are you seeing progress over maybe the last half of the season in those areas?
Yeah. The tough part about consistent progress is just the injuries. Now it's a new guy that's taking reps that just wasn't taking reps before, and so. Well, like I said, it's you get a lot of guys that are kind of cycling through, getting some reps, and they're getting better. And when you're talking about the skill set of playing D-line, I mean everything is just in increments. It's slowly getting through, and so after an off season and after spring ball and summer training, you come back. I mean I think the D-line will look a lot different than what it did this year for sure.
Is there a player or two that you think maybe took some knocks this year, but will come back and look like a different player next year?
I think honestly, really all of them. They're you kind of take lumps with some of them, just being so young, not having as many snaps, and but with the experience that they are getting, I mean. Thomas Collins comes back. He's a freshman this year. Vita Palme comes back. He's a freshman this year. Jojo Johnson played a good limited role, but is a freshman as well. And so, I mean, really, even Jacob Schuster, he's not technically a freshman on paper, but it's the first year playing in the system.
Yeah.
And so there's just a lot of guys that are playing for the first time, taking a lot of snaps that have made improvements throughout the year. Like I'm seeing a lot of good things, but not nearly where we want to be. But certainly some excitement for the future with a lot of those guys that are young.
Where do you see the shortcomings when it comes to rushing the passer?
That's a good, complicated question because really, I think when you're talking about rushing the passer, you're talking about pass downs. And so if you can't stop the run, and I think that was really our issue earlier in the year. If you can't stop the run, you're not going to be rushing the passer. There's not as much opportunity. And then there's a little bit of truth to everything. It's we as coaches have to be better at coaching it. The players have to be better at getting better at just rushing, but also we've got to put ourselves in opportunity to rush the passer. And when you're not ahead, you're stopping the run. And when you're losing games, it's just kind of what it is. But also just the opponent sometimes schemes play into it where. San Jose, they throw the ball a lot, but they did a really good job getting rid of the ball. So, like for instance, when we're breaking them down, San Jose gave up 1 sack in the 4 games that we broke down, and so they're still throwing the ball, but they do a good job. I thought they did a good job getting rid of it. They're coached well. Their schemes also just kind of play to it, and so we had a couple of good pass rushes. I thought in the San Jose game, but the ball's out. And so really it's about keeping the quarterback balled up, knocking balls down, like those kinds of things. And that's just, so in answer to your question, it's really everything. But it's we've got to coach better. Players have to improve. The scheme's got to match up. The timing's got to match up. If you're facing 2-minute drill when you're ahead, then you're going to have chances to rush the passer. When you're losing, people are just going to run the ball on you. And so it's a complicated question, but it's a little bit of everything.
Is there that much more impact if you have that depth you guys thought you'd have preseason?
For sure. I mean, it's the depth, but also and I don't Coach Marshall coaches the edges, and I coach the D tackles, and so normally when you're talking about guys that are making a difference, at least in the pass rush, it's edge guys, and so I can't necessarily speak to all of those guys because I don't coach them; they're not in my room. But when you get dynamic edge rushers and good physical knockback guys in the interior, you've got a combination to just do well. And that, in my career, there was a year where we led the country in sacks. And so it's, and I look back on it and I see the same thing. We were in a lot of tight games. We played maybe 7 NFL quarterbacks, and so teams are throwing the ball. We faced 2-minute drill almost every single game, and so opportunity to get sacks there, and we won 9 games that year, and so the opportunity to get it is good. And then one D end had 18 sacks, the other D end had 10 sacks. The interior guys just do a good job pushing, and you kind of, the sacks belong to the whole room, and that's the philosophy that you push. But the edge guys are the ones that make a difference. And so I'm probably answering a question that's probably better suited just for an edges coach as well as just a coordinator. But that, in my experience, is kind of what I've seen. And so. So back to the original question, we've got to get better across the board, from coaching to playing to giving ourselves an opportunity schematically, as well as giving ourselves an opportunity being ahead.
There's always a lot of emphasis on how important continuity is for an offensive line, the ability to work together, and if you don't have it, it's really hard. Does continuity play a role on the defensive line in the same sort of way of knowing each other and what everyone's going to do? Yeah,
for sure. I think continuity in any aspect, in any room, really, when you're talking about backers and corner safeties, even coaches, like I don't think that there's an appreciation for the learning curve as a defensive staff. Like, and I didn't completely, I wasn't ready for it. Is you've got Coach Bray, who's a head coach, former coordinator. You got Coach Hayward coming in. They've never really worked together, but they know each other. The language you speak, right? Like, and sometimes we're all looking at it. We're looking at the same thing, talking, but it sounds like Chinese to me. And I have to ask, like, hey, when you use this word, what's it mean? Oh, well, palms means this. And I was like, oh, where I came from, palms means this. And so having to kind of rehash that out. We've had spring, we have meetings, we have season, right? And so, and still, even now, it's the other day, we had a conversation about a certain coverage, and we're kind of talking about the nuances of how someone's taught it, how we want it, what's this word mean, what does this word trigger for this person to play this way. Like, it's just, I think you'll see continuity in anything is huge. And so you look at teams that are senior heavy, that have kids that come and have the same coach that's really listening to the same style of coaching. I think that's important too. And so, we've got young guys. We've got our captain in our room that's leading us, and a bunch of young guys that are following. And so I think we'll have a little continuity in the future.
You just mentioned one that senior. Talk about what Samisi's meant to them.
Oh, he's in the room, so it's a little weird. I don't want to, he's ultimate teammate. I mean, just what he's meant to the room, what he's meant to for the cohesiveness of just having a new coach like myself, and just all the young kids come in. I mean, when we break practice, everyone gets together as a position group and goes to the coach, and coach kind of has a couple notes to say, and I've been completely out of it from the get. It's been Misi that's been the player coach for our group, and so trust him, love what he's done. Going to be trying to poach him as a coach if he ever looks to get into it, because he's that type of person. It's just the kind of guy that you want around with anything that you're doing. But he's been great to have.